afternoon. I'm going to start with answering a few questions that came in earlier. The Dhamma is beautiful in the beginning, middle, and end of what? Of the path, I think. You know, it's great when you're starting out. It's beautiful when we discover it and when we start working out at it in the middle. And in the end, it's just we grow along with our understanding of the Dhamma, and it's just true, so it holds up. And the Buddha's teachings are so consistent and tight. It's really amazing. Reality. What is bowing etiquette for lay people and for monks? I don't know that etiquette's the right word. That varies according to tradition. It's a cultural conditioning, but it's helpful. And in our tradition, and when I say our tradition, there's quotes around it. Most of our conditioning has been in the Thai forest tradition, and particularly the Ajahn Chah lineage. Except for Ayya Chitananda did spend a year as a Mahayana nun before she came to the Theravada side of things, where it's not a side, but a tradition. And so Ajahn Chah, and I think probably quite a few people, you enter, sit down in front of the shrine and bow 3 times. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Try to center yourself and have that gratitude. And do the same thing before you get up. Do the same thing in the during the chanting when it's appropriate. You know, as you can see, signified in the chanting book. And lay people usually follow the same traditional way of doing it. And in other traditions, people might do an Anjali and a kind of a partial standing bow at the door. You can just see all different kinds of ways of paying respects, but the reason for doing it is for your own heart. Has nothing to do with, certainly nothing to do with the stone or plaster or bronze or whatever statue. And in this tradition also people bow to the monastics at various times, and that has nothing to do with the monastic. It's really the benefit of being able to show respect. And it really is just about paying respects to what deserves respect. So, the benefit is for the one who bows. And there's no pressure. You know, as a lay person, it's not like you have to do that in order to be loved and accepted. Welcome. Can you please review some skillful ways to impact low energy states so the bathroom gets cleaned? Well, yeah. It helps a lot to have Ajahn voice in my head. But you can find that somewhere too, maybe, you know, some encouragement around how you want to do things. Sometimes I like that saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you really want to follow through on things, you really want to, make it good. Why not make everything good that you can? sometimes little rewards help. After this bathroom gets cleaned, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate. I don't know. Those are kind of normal, approaches. But I think there might be something there about self-respect, not for the ego, but for the development and standing tall in the Dhamma, that you really want to do things in a good way, and let that just color everything you do. In the context of right speech, what is idle talk? Is it distinct from the frivolous talk that helps forge and maintain relationships? For example, talking about a funny-looking cat, the fall colors, or reminiscing, etc. Or is that classified as idle talk? Well, I feel like if talk is helping forge and maintain relationships, it's not frivolous. We know why we're saying what we're saying, even though it may sound kind of superficial. It really isn't. And the suttas often start with someone coming to see the Buddha, and there's this cordial and amiable talk. How are you? How's the family? Whatever, they don't really go into details, but it'd be the same thing we do. It's a way of connecting and caring about each other, and there's plenty of opportunity for innocent humor that doesn't hurt anyone. Those kinds of things open up the heart and help to forge and maintain relationships. In fact, what is it that you read about what really makes a relationship last?
I think it is like
It was about humor,
laughing about something together.
more than about
like having shared interests or
having shared interests. So humor. So a lot of the idle talk, the unhelpful, the literal translation from the Pali is animal talk, is about all kinds of things. Kings and countries and the condition of the roads, although that's not all idle talk, depends on where you live. Sometimes you need to know that. We hear a lot of it. It's just the same thing all over and over, and it's actually downpulling or toxic. You can tell just understanding the purpose and the effect. And when we're speaking, we are putting sankharas, we are putting concepts, thoughts into other people's minds. This is actually a pretty serious thing to do. It should be something good. When one finds oneself obsessing or having rambling thoughts, what's the quickest way to, quote, set them down? I often find that I know I'm having rambling thoughts, but then I have trouble. I have trouble coming back to the moment and setting the thoughts down. When we have tried to just say no to the thoughts and it doesn't work, Ajahn Ajahn Chah's recommendation would be to just observe them. You know, when you're in this mindful, observing, witness position, then whether you're observing a calm mind or you're observing a lot of thoughts coming through, it doesn't make any difference, he said. You're just observing. You're there, you're present, you're still in that observer position. And I think I'm planning to read some quotes from Ajahn Chah, maybe later today, tonight. And one of them, and so you might hear this again, I'm not sure, but one of them is that not to think of our meditation as good if it's calm, quiet, still, and bad if it's not. Because if it changes, it fluctuates. It's not like it's a linear progression of, it's not just a skill on our part. There is skill that we develop, but what comes up in the mind is from causes and conditions that we don't control. So, being able to be present with it, and then just noticing, and of course if something's coming back, or it's hard to let go of, there might be something underneath it that's important for us to investigate and understand. Some dukkha under there, or some way in which we're, trying to cover something over. Something like that. Part of the challenge is that we want to get rid of things. We want to pull things towards us or get rid of things, and that's just more dukkha. So I have a new stack here that I might get to, but I'm going to talk a bit about mindfulness and breathing first. Maybe some of these are about mindfulness of breathing. Oh yeah, there's one. Okay, we'll see how many of these get answering without looking yet. Okay, so first thing to notice on your sheet is that right at the top it says, this is from MN 118. The MN stands for Majjhima Nikaya. And the Majjhima means middle, so it's the middle length. Nikaya means collection or volume, so it's the middle length discourses of the Buddha. And you can look that up on suttacentral.net. All the suttas are there in English translation and translations into other languages, and you can even choose a view that shows you the Pali that goes along with it. It's a wonderful resource if you haven't used it yet. Sutta, S-U-T-T-A, Central, C-E-N-T-R-A-L, one word, suttacentral.net. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. And you'll kind of learn how to find your way into the different volumes. You first select the basket of discourses, and then in there you'll see the main ones, the Nikayas, long, middle, etc. So when you read the sutta, there's more to it than what we're looking at. It's got a whole preamble, and it's interesting, and then the Buddha gets to these 16 steps. And this is also found in quite a few other suttas, so you might find it at other places in the Sutta Pitaka as well. And as you can see on the left there, these collections of 4 instructions each are related to the 4 foundations of mindfulness: body, feelings, mind, and dharma, or Dhamma. So really, even before the first instruction, there is a way of setting up for this, right? To go to the root of a tree, to sit with your body erect, and so on like that. So you can pay attention to that when you look at the whole sutta. But I put this together years ago as a kind of cheat sheet, something that you can look at when you start to get familiar with this, to be able to know what to do next. And it's not intended for long-term use. It's intended for learning. And when you get some skill in using this collection of instructions from the Buddha, then you don't have to go in order, and you don't have to use every one. You get the idea of what he's trying to help us do, and then you can do it on your own, and you'll have developed a kind of a track in your mind that you can place yourself on and kind of move down that track. But for now, we're going to look at all 16 in order. And the first one, I am breathing in long, I am breathing out long. So the Buddha the wording in the sutta is really beautiful, and I would look at that. But when you're just kind of like, what's this instruction that I'm supposed to do now? It's, okay, I'm supposed to be aware, put my attention on the fact that I'm breathing in and breathing out, and noticing whether it's long or short. So the second instruction, I'm breathing in short and breathing out short. It's useful to take them together and just see, okay, I'm breathing in. Like I said this morning, it doesn't have to be long or short, long and short. You can think of it as deep or shallow or however. The main point is we're observing, we're in that, we're witnessing, we're asking a question, and we're establishing mindfulness in that process. And it's the same when you do the kind of thing I've been talking about with strong feelings, strong emotions. When we stop and we observe, we take our stand in the mind, in the witness position, we're observing, and we're asking questions about that feeling, where it is in the body, how big it is, that kind of thing. We're establishing mindfulness. So right here, just sitting down to meditate, no matter what else is happening, establishing mindfulness. And noticing that breath, in breath and out breath. And you don't need to get any more complicated than that. It's pretty simple. And then after you've kind of settled, and it's so nice it's nice to have guided meditation, but it's also really nice to do it on your own, so you can take as much time as you want to. Sometimes you'll hear the advice that you really need to get the first instructions down really, really well before you go on to the next one. And sometimes people spend a long time thinking they have to perfect this ability to breathe in and breathe out with full attention for some long period. And teachers will even say, you've got to be able to do this for X number of minutes, but personally I haven't found that so helpful. The goal really isn't that you can watch your breath for a long period of time. The goal is that you can become still, your body becomes tranquil, your mind becomes tranquil, and you basically go into an altered state of consciousness, which is samadhi, where you can develop or experience the strength of that healing, support, and conditioning of the body and mind that it brings with it, and then also be able to investigate. So I would learn about yourself and what your body and mind needs in order to be able to do that, to develop that ability. And for me, it's not staying a long time with the in-breath and out-breath. I mean, I stay with it, but not just that first preliminary couple of instructions. Because then the Buddha says, breathe in and breathe out, sensitive to the entire body, to the whole body. And there was something introduced through the commentarial material that made it sound like it wasn't the whole body. They talk about the body of the breath. Some people might know about that. I found that incredibly confusing. And I don't think that's what the Buddha meant, according to scholars that I trust. And for me, it makes such a difference to make that shift to the experiencing the whole body. And because there's a lot about meditation that really has to do with energy, life force energy. And in this instruction, you can start to tune into the energetic flow in the body. So you're breathing in, and you can really perhaps feel the breath move in and that energy through the whole body. And breathing out, feeling the whole body relax. And that leads us into the fourth instruction of breathing in and breathing out, calming the body, calming the bodily formation. And you don't have to write all this down because it's recorded, just so you know. So that's the part that is focused on the body. And it's helpful to the body, but it's really preparing us to work with feeling and mind, and finally Dhamma. So that the next instruction, we train ourselves to breathe in and breathe out sensitive to rapture, which I've always found that translation a little challenging. It makes it sound like it's so intense and glorified that people sometimes say, well, I've never experienced anything like rapture. And yet, it's important to feel what PT is, that it can be much more subtle. It comes in different forms. Noticing it helps it to develop. And PT is one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. It's an important ingredient in your awakening. So you want to try to get a sense of what that is, that kind of joy, that kind of pleasure, a spiritual pleasure. It might feel a lot to you like you feel if you have a lot of metta. It might feel like other kinds of spiritual uplift. There are various ways that it can be experienced. Tingling, warmth, sometimes a sense of fullness. Sometimes people will talk about body parts feeling like they're really big or small, or just, it can be, it's kind of this, it's a spiritual energy kind of thing. Starting to get a sense of that. When in the beginning, if you feel like, well, I never feel anything like that, just notice pleasant feeling. Like you might even notice a kind of pleasant feeling when you're about to fall asleep at night, when you get really relaxed. That's a place to start, and just kind of notice this. Also, I think that seeing colors, hearing the this sound, not a sound, or sound of silence. That's kind of their background kind of sound that can get really loud if you put your attention on it. I don't mean really loud in a rough way. It's still very soothing and soft, but I think all of those things are just spiritual energy expressing through different forms. So it's like, this is the kind of stuff that starts to show up, maybe, depending. We all have different channels, I would say, that we're adept in or have the karma to experience through. If you're feeling something in the body, it's kind of a propriosensitive channel. If you're seeing it as something that's appearing visually, there's a visual channel, there's an auditory channel. There are different ways in which we experience phenomena. And it's all phenomena. But in these cases, it's phenomena that can help support us into this kind of spiritual mode. And then the next instruction, number 6, is about sukha, which is another kind of spiritual happiness or spiritual joy, generally considered to be a bit more subtle and sustaining. So the PT might be more kind of buoyant, buoyant or ebullient, and it's more maybe a little bit more volatile, maybe. And I don't think it matters at all to know the distinction, really. I think it's really, again, this isn't so much about knowing what these things are, it's about experiencing them and making use of them. It's just a part of what happens when we settle down and become concentrated. And then number 7, so this kind of interesting shift, so these 4 instructions are about feeling, but it goes from noticing these sensations, this experience in the body, and then to what's the mental activity like, and to calming that down. And I think it's interesting, and it is my experience, that you can really feel a lot of PT and sukha and still have quite a bit of dialogue or monologue going on in your mind. It's okay. Then turning to that gently and just kind of like, it's okay to calm down. And I will breathe in, calming the mental activity, and breathe out, calming the mental activity. And then moving on to the mind, breathing in and out, sensitive to the mind. So our awareness is turning from feeling to mind, or actually from sankhara or activity of the mind to the mind itself. And it's a state of mind. So in the suttas, there's a standard list of states, and they just to give us an idea, I think, more than anything else, and just noticing the state of your mind. And then breathe in and out, and here it says satisfying the mind, or another translation is gladdening the mind. So this is where, it's interesting. It's like there's this approach to meditation that's more like, okay, establish witnessing, And then what? Just being open to witnessing anything that comes with this non-judgmental attitude, recognizing it all to be impermanent phenomena. And then there's the proactiveness of intentionally uplifting the mind, gladdening it. And the Buddha was actually quite proactive. And you can see it in these instructions. He's really encouraging us to move our attention around to helping the body become tranquil and the mind to become tranquil, and helping the mind come into a state that is pleasant and uplifted in order to easily go into samadhi. It totally makes sense. So there is this proactive side to meditation. And after satisfying the mind, we're steadying the mind into samadhi. And then, of course, with any of these stages, you can linger there and learn how to cultivate that longer. I did a lot of lingering around the Piti Sukha area. I did a couple of years, actually, of really being focused on Piti. And it was very beneficial. My mind would also go into samadhi then, because there'd be so much piti. And it's possible to feel so much piti that it's like it's entirely through you, your body disappears. You're like sitting in this huge cloud of this, I don't know how to describe it, soft recliner chair. Of just, that's all possible. But it has a point, not just the enjoyment of the experience, but the point is that the mind can be extremely calm and steady. And then at some point, we start to come out of that, and there's a freeing of the mind, or sometimes we'll even call it liberating, but it's not like you're being liberated from the defilements. You're just, I think, moving out of that state. And then the mind is really well conditioned for exploring the Dhamma. So investigating impermanence and fading away dispassion and cessation of the craving, the clinging, and therefore the dukkha, and finally letting go, patinisa. So in Nietzsche, viraga, nirodha, and patinisa. And that is like a mini slice of liberation. So this question is relevant here. Please explain again number 14, dispassion, and how it relates to number 16, relinquishment. Yeah, so the dispassion part is where we're really losing our interest in something that we've been clinging to. Like, what do we want to look at in terms of impermanence? Well, everything. but the things that are going to be the most poignant are the ones that we really crave or cling to. And when we really see the impermanence, the dukkha, and the non-self nature of it, then our desire for it, our passion for it fades. So raga is passion, and viraga is the opposite. Non-passion, dispassion. And some of you have heard me use this before because it was so striking to me. Bhante Analayo said that when he was living in Sri Lanka, some of the lay people brought this really beautiful cloth. It was a batik. It was so bright and colorful. And they put it on a table, like a tablecloth, and he would walk past it every day to go for alms. And he would always look at it because it was so striking and beautiful. And then he said it just stayed there on the table with the sun on it and the rain on it, and pretty soon it's faded. And he said it's like an old rag, and it's just like that fading. It's like no longer interesting, attractive, or no more, wanting to really have anything to do with it at all. So it's like that. The pretty things of the world start to fade. And the fortunate part about that process is that even though the things that might have seemed so shiny or delicious, Ajahn Gana says everything in the world is so delicious. The worldly experience, our interest in it fades. But our spiritual life expands, and the joy that comes with it greatly overflows in us. So then how does that relate to relinquishment? Because the fading away, the desire is reduced. We feel relief in the Nibbāna. There's that cessation of the suffering, but the final letting go is in the Patinissagga. And I don't mean that you're going to do this meditation and then be an arahant immediately, although that could happen. Don't ever, think it won't at some time, but it's going to be a taste of, that feeling of letting go. Look at the time, she says. Okay, these are going to come later. Okay. I don't know, I think I'm going to just hold you after a little bit here and just look at the ones that are related to this, this particular topic. What is the distinction between mental activity and mind? Whoever wrote this, do you feel like I covered it? If not, raise your hand. Either you're not here or we covered it. Is chitta a noun or a verb? I would say a noun. It's a noun. It's, heart or mind. But if you really want to get into it, everything's a process, so I guess it's all verbs. Is the mind referring to heart, mind, chitta, and how does one satisfy the mind? So I think I covered that. One of the best ways is the 6 recollections that the Buddha talked about as a group. The recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the enlightened Sangha, recollection of your virtue, recollection of your generosity, and recollection of the devas and the qualities of the devas that you yourself also have. Like the qualities that got them to the deva realm, and you also have those qualities. So recalling that. This is very much about using our good karma, good actions as a way to lift up the mind. Okay, these will come later. So I think you know what comes next.